Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I cannot believe I'm actually saying this, but we are right smack in the middle of episode 6 of Wellbeing with Seamus. Thank you to all those who have subscribed thus far. Thank you to all my followers and listeners, both on the YouTube channel and my Spotify channel. And I appreciate your time you've taken to listen to my episodes, but also appreciate your following and your subscription as well. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe today, follow today, because you do not want to miss out on this particular episode. I am delighted and honoured to have in my company today a wonderful individual, an amazing woman, a communicator, a transformational coach, somebody who has walk the walk and talk the talk in terms of her own life experience, and now is in a space, in a place where she's able to help and support others find their mission and vision in life as well. Christine Passo, I am delighted to have you on my podcast this afternoon, and welcome to Wellbeing with Seamus.
Oh, Seamus, thank you so much. And I know we had a few minutes before we hit record, and I just want to say that, you and I have been connected now for months and months. I mean, probably almost even a year.
Yeah.
And yet this is our first conversation. And I'm saying shame on me for not reaching out because, as I said, I just like you and I love what you stand for. And so this is such an honor for me to be having this conversation with you and to share it with the others that are interested in well-being and improving their lives. And this is shaping up to be a fantastic Friday.
It is a fantastic Friday, and that's why I record my podcast episode on a Friday to end on a high note. And what a better high note to end on, Christine, than to have you as guest on my podcast this afternoon to listen and share your story with a wider audience, but also be helpful and supportive in terms of enabling others who might be struggling right now, who might be mid-transition, who might need that extra little bit of help and support to move to the life that they want to create, but may not know or may not understand the steps and how to get there. Essentially,
Yes.
which I appreciate is your mission and vision in life. But before all that, before we get to all that, Christine, I know a little bit about you from your profile. I know you've had a 20-year career in marketing, and I know you were unhappy in that life, that it just didn't fulfill your purpose, and you kind of woke up to your own mission and vision and wanted something else out of life. And as you say so succinctly yourself, you didn't fully appreciate your worth. Can you tell the listeners out there and the public, who are you, Christine Passo, and why are you on Wellbeing with Seamus this afternoon?
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to answer this by going way back to my early 20s when
Okay.
I decided what I wanted to study in college. It meant so much to me. I didn't even, in fact, I went to a community college and I worked. So I had to pay for, part of my education, but I didn't want to just pick a major just to pick a major, which is what everybody was saying. Oh, just pick marketing or pick sociology or pick this. You can decide later. And I thought, why would I waste an opportunity to, really zero in on something that I'm passionate about? And so I thought long and hard about it. And I think when I was 23, I committed to social work. And I
Wow.
said, that's what I want to study. I want to be of impact to people. I want to help them. I don't know exactly what that looks like in my future, but this feels like a great start. And I loved my college education. I went to University of Maryland in Baltimore County, otherwise known as UMBC, and a small kind of campus, about 10,000 students, which maybe depending on what some people think is small, but it was such a great education. And the year that I completed my internship, I had an internship opportunity with the Department of Social Services for Child Services in
Wow.
Baltimore City. And I loved the kids that I worked with, but it ripped my heart out. So graduation day comes, one of the best days of my life, because I was now 25 graduating from college with deep passion. And I graduate and I think, I can't be a social worker. This is going to rip my heart out. What am I going to do?
No.
Oh my gosh, thinking maybe that empathy side of me just can't handle that part, which, oh my gosh, like the people that are in that career and choose that career, they don't get paid enough. They don't get thanked enough. Their days are long. They are hard. So, 100% respect and compassion for them. But for me, I was like, okay, I can't do it. So I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I have to start making money. So my mom had been in sales and she said, Teen, so my nickname is Teen, short for Christine. The Teen, why don't you look to somehow get into a sales role? I think you'd really enjoy it. You're very personable. So I get into sales and I ultimately end up staying there for 20 years because I'm also of the generation where it's important that you have a job, that you pay your bills, that you save money for the trips that you want to take every year, that you have a home, you can do all these things that you want because primarily it doesn't really matter what you do, it's that you can pay for the things that you want to do. And so I got stuck in that for 20 years. And I was in my mid 40s and I started thinking, if this is good as life gets, man, my life isn't that great. I don't feel like I'm doing anything. If I were to pass away today, what would I be remembered for?
Mm.
And I'm, going through in my head, I'm like, okay, well, maybe my good friends would say, well, she's been really loyal. She is stuck by me. She's a very supportive friend. But I thought, who in the community would say anything? And I thought, you know what? I want more. I want more, and I need to figure out how to make it happen. And so I just changed everything. Instead of saying no to everything I said no to before, because out of fear, right? I'm like, oh, I'm just in sales. I'm not good enough to read this wellness article, or who am I to talk about well-being and mental health? I'm in sales. And so I just started reading articles and books that really had always intrigued me, but I thought I wasn't worthy enough to read. So there's that word worthy.
Yeah.
And I started listening to podcasts, to people that were inspiring me and hearing stories that other people told about their lives and how they changed their career, they changed their mindset. And I thought, well, I can do that. And because, at the end of the day, Seamus, when you don't feel worthy, you say no to everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You really do. And you're not saying no because you believe it's the right thing to say. You say no because it's out of fear. It's out of insecurity. It's out of lack of. And wow, I mean, I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to feel like I mattered to myself, right? I mean, that's where it has to begin. We have to feel like we matter to ourselves first before other people can recognize what we have to offer. And so I realized that in the journey. And, for a few years, I've talked so much about transformation, transform your life. And I know that you're also a transformation coach. And I was really leading quite heavily on that. And it dawned on me about a month ago. I
Mm.
thought, wow, that's kind of petrifying, right? So here I am as a coach,
Yeah.
like telling people, writing posts, trying to encourage people to say, by saying, transform your life. It's frightening. I wouldn't be surprised if people were like, nope, I'm out of here. Right. I mean, it's too much. And so I've realized, I'm like, this whole cycle that we've been in with COVID, I mean, everything changed. Everybody changed.
Yeah.
And now we're a few years, in the clear, so to speak. I mean, because we're still getting COVID, but, we're not hunkered down anymore. We're not isolated. But I think, and I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on this, but I feel like a few years ago, when so many of us had the opportunity to say, I'm not happy in my life, I want to do something different, right? So they started exploring, but then the doors opened up and people were expected to go back to work. We were expected to know how to socialize again. We were expected to know these
Yeah.
things. And this year in particular, I feel like that movement of, I'm behind you, it's cool, don't worry about it, the majority of people are not supporting that.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's creating this feeling of grief because some of those people who started their journey, now they had the door slammed in their face and they're told, You're not allowed to do that anymore. You need to get back to life. You need to get back to being normal, who you were before. And
Mm.
I think a lot of people are now standing still thinking, who am I? Where do I go? Who can support me? And I feel like we're in this weird flux, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, now in a comment or whenever, but I don't know. So I'm honestly rethinking, that intense mission of transformation and
Mm.
more of just guiding through this grief, guiding through this confusion. And then let's
Yeah.
see where we get, right? Because you never know where you're going to end up on the other side. Nobody does.
Nobody does. You're absolutely right, and I think you're absolutely right, Christine, and it's certainly reflected in the work I do. As a facilitator of change, and I see myself as a facilitator of change, and I see myself as a consultant who journeys with people. Now, that journey is different for every single person that I work with and every single organization that I work with. And you're absolutely right. I think we all went through a real intensity 3, 4 years ago with COVID and the pandemic that we all systematically had to change, right? Our behavior, to ensure that we kept ourselves safe and to ensure that we washed our hands, to ensure that we didn't mingle, to ensure that we didn't socialize. Stay at home, we were told. Protect the NHS, we were told. Save lives, we were told in this country. And you had similar messages coming through, in the general media in the States. So we did all that, right? We did all that. And in some cases, it was scary. It was frightening. It was meant to be scary and it was meant to be frightening. I think the language around that was very scary and very
Yes.
frightening. And we adapted, we changed, we developed our platform technology, which allowed this conversation to happen. Because 3, 4 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to have this conversation, right?
Right.
It would have been majorly difficult. So we did all that. And we struggled through, and we supported our kids and grandkids, and we supported one another as best we can. We clapped for carers and we clapped for our services. But you're right. I think 4 years on, 3 years on from that, 23rd of March, in our case, 2020, when we were told stay at home, you know, we have now gone back to enemy and face-to-face collaboration and communication. A lot of businesses, no doubt, stateside as well as here in the UK, are now front facing, and they're facing the general public again, albeit with the additional flexibility that hybrid working and flexible working and home working brings to people now through, again, the advent and adaptation of digital technology. But you're right. I think the journey has changed, and I think people are now frozen to and fearful in terms of what's next. We've done all that, now what's next?
Yeah.
And you and I have experienced clients and experienced people out there who are currently considering, is this it? Is this as good as it gets? Is there
Yeah.
something else for me? And the journey continues. Now,
Yeah.
our role in that, I think, is to facilitate that so that people can transform themselves. So it's actually taking the pressure off us, because we're not expected to transform anybody. People will transform themselves. We give guidance, we give support, we give encouragement. We give signposting where necessary, but it's up to the individual, right? It's up to the individual to do the work. If the individual does the work, the transformation will happen, the change will happen. If the individual doesn't do the work, change won't happen.
That's right.
And
That's right.
in some sense, yeah, it's also a sense of grief for the world that we've lost and for the change that's happened. And in some sense, a lot of businesses would like us just to go back to that. Go back to just reset, just go back to how it is. But we can't, because we have
No.
had a 3-year experience in between that's changed us.
Yeah.
That's in some way um, developed us, that in some way has impacted us, that only now, I think, the full ramifications of what we've actually gone through in the last 3 years are only now coming to the surface. So
That's
yes,
right.
we are grieving. Yes,
Yeah.
we are experiencing a loss, but that loss
Yeah.
and that grief, in some cases, can, if we use it right and use it correctly, can turn into very positive and transformational growth.
Yes, 100%. And, I've been very forthcoming about the loss of one of my dogs. She
Yeah,
passed away unexpectedly, 100%. She was only 8 years old on May 28th. And I've been really honest about it and raw about my feelings because for so long, I thought I had to keep them down. It's like, you know, put out, grab your mask, put your mask on and put on your best face and show everybody that you're okay so that people think you're still capable of getting your job done, so that people still, don't get uncomfortable around you. But, I'm putting it out there as a real griever, and people are responding saying, thank you so much for saying this. It's so important. In
absolutely.
fact, so it's been now almost 2 months. And just this week, I was having a rough time, and I'm doing some work with a company named Happy Companies. And the CEO, who is my direct report, I report right to him. He sent me a message and he said, how are you today? How are you doing? Which he hasn't done in weeks, right? I mean, we've just been really busy. There's been a lot
Mm,
going on.
mm,
And I said, well, since you asked, I'm having a really hard day. And I explained, I said, it's wraparound grief. And then I was having anxiety about something. I was in one of my modes of imposter syndrome because I'm human. And I was realizing this imposter syndrome. And he wrote me back and he said, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I'm sending you warm thoughts. He didn't say anything like, well, are you going to be able to get everything done that you need to get done today?
yeah,
Are you putting yourself into the work as we are expecting? None of that. He just showed up as a kind, compassionate human. And I thought to myself, how lucky am I to be surrounded by people that are supportive in this way? Because there are so many people out there at work or in friendships and relationships that aren't able to be honest about what they're feeling, afraid of that people are going to come back and say, well, it's been almost 2 months. Why are you still having a hard time? You
yeah,
know, the worst thing anybody can do or say to somebody who is grieving is to question them. That is the most isolating thing for a griever. It's just accept and let it go. And that's what he did for me. And I just, again, given the grief that we talked about that so many people are going through, whether it's through death or trying to understand themselves or being stuck because they started the journey and now they don't know where to go, or they're not happy with themselves. I mean, this grief is all around us. And I thought, oh my gosh, I was just able to share my full heart. And that's amazing. And I really encourage everybody to do the same, because in doing that, they'll have the opportunity to attract the people into their lives that will support them.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, and within your own mission um, and vision, you essentially have three pillars, as I understand it. And those three pillars are communicate,
Mhm.
connect, and care, which really struck me as three really important aspects to the work that you do. Can you explain a little bit about each of them, Christine, and how they operate within your own practice at the moment?
Yes, absolutely. So communicate, that's the first one. I'll go back to the example that I just shared. So when I messaged James and said, well, since you asked, I communicated to him exactly where I was.
Mm,
I was able to do that. And I do that with anybody else. What others do with your communication, we don't have any control over that. But it's so important for us as human beings to know that we are communicating as best as we can.
yeah,
It's otherwise, we are lost in translation. We lose ourselves and then we lose everybody else. If we are not communicating truly what we are feeling, that message is garbled out of the gate, right? I mean, if instead I were to have said, oh, I'm fine, it's all good. Now I'm questioning myself and I'm probably making myself feel inadequate because I'm having to fake how I really feel. I'm having to fake what I really want to communicate. So that communicate, um, the beginning of that, we'll call it a pyramid, an upside down pyramid, is so important. And again, if it doesn't come from us, if that communication doesn't come from us, again, we're fostering relationships that aren't real. We're just not sharing in a way that is even respecting those that we're communicating with. And then the connect part. So if we're not communicating honestly and from a place of true truth, then we're not going to connect with anybody. Like, think of how many conversations you've had with people where they are very surface. Most times you're not going to feel like you're going to connect. You and I, we connected almost before we even communicated.
That's
because
correct.
we were there for each other. It was immediately, I read some of your posts and some of your comments, and I knew before I even reached out to you, I like Seamus, and yes, and by sharing that with you, we connected. So
100%.
that's right. Like, that's a place of honesty. That's a place of truth. That's a place of, I see you, I'm going to communicate how I see you, and we're going to connect because of that. It's so important. There is so much disconnect in that fear of communication. So my thoughts, we really can't connect unless we're communicating. Some people think we can, but even if the communication is not verbal, there is communication happening, and
100%.
that can lead to connection, which then enriches our lives far beyond what we think is actually connecting. We can have friends, and we all have different sorts of friends. Like, we have our friends at work, we have our close friends that we grew up with that know us inside and out. We have, new friends, we have spouses, we have family, and they all connect with us differently because almost who we are with them is different. But it's still a level of connection that will keep that relationship flourishing. When the connection stops, that's when we start noticing that the relationship is not, it's just not flourishing. And then that leads to care. So care really comes below connect to me, because of course you need to care to connect, but it's then what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
It's how wonderful and comforting and gracious you were to me after you learned that Maya died.
Mm.
Checking in with me. Are you okay? When would you like to come on the show? I'd love you to come on the show, but I want you to be whole first. I want you to feel comfortable. That was care that came after we connected. It was seeing me. It was communicating to me that you see me and you care. And there's a lot of us that don't do that. We don't go that extra mile to show that we care. So then you have those other people, right? You have the people that aren't getting connected to and shown care, that they're out there in limbo thinking, well, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares that I lost my job a week ago. Nobody's reached out. Maybe they're afraid I'm going to ask for money, so they're not going to say anything. Like, we worry so much about our actions that we don't realize how much we're neglecting people that are in our lives, or even strangers. And so that care component, to me, it's the glue to the other two.
Absolutely. It's a powerful upside down triangle, right? It is a powerful upside down triangle. It's a powerful combination of three elements which, used wisely and used intuitively, can create a wonderful working relationship with somebody. And you're absolutely right. And one of the key, I suppose, things that attracted me to you, Christine, is you're amazing in terms of what you do, because you're coming at it from a place of honesty and authenticity. And and through all the spiel and through all the posts and through all the words, you're an authentic, honest, stand-up human being that wants to support others be the best version of themselves in order to get themselves, as it were, unstuck. And it's interesting that you say you're kind of in the middle of another transitional phase in terms of your own thought process, and in terms of your own mission and vision. It was all about your transformation, this, and you're right. You're absolutely right. If you say, okay, I'm going to transform your life, chances are the best people out there will go, not today, thanks. I'm not going to take that on board today. Whereas if you say to somebody, what would you like to do? Where is life for you right now? What are the things that are going on for your life that you would like to adjust a little bit? Not transform, just adjust. Because there's little things that we all can do in our daily lives, right, that will make a huge difference. I'm reading a great book at the moment, Christine. I really recommend it. And I hope he won't mind me saying, but I'm going to do a little promo shout out to Dr. David Hamilton.
No, please do.
Yeah, he's just written a beautiful book called The Joy of Actually Giving, a F smiley face CK. And really, it's all around kindness. It's all around what he describes as kindfulness. It's mindfulness plus being kind. And it starts with ourselves, right? It's not being hard on ourselves. It's seeing ourselves for who we really are. Warts and all, the good bits, the bad bits, the bits that we like to change. Because if we can do it first, we can help and support other people to do it as well, because we will be coming at it from a lived experience, not a theoretical experience, not a college experience, not a degree experience, but actually a life experience that makes such a huge difference to people when they hear it and see it. And your story in itself, Christine, is very transformational. What's been your drivers, Christine? What's kept you going? Because it sometimes can be a difficult place when you're a founder, right? When you walk away from that you were familiar with to something really unfamiliar. What were your drivers?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I go through cycles once in a while and I think, can I do this? Right? I mean, I'm a human being. I own my own company. Everything falls on my shoulders. But the day that I realized and decided that I was going to start my own company, be a coach, be a woman of support, talk about communication, talk about comfort, let it evolve, right? I mean, I think that's one of the smartest things I've done, which is don't have one idea and stick to it. Evolve with it. Where am I? What am I seeing that people need help with, right? That's what I'm evolving with. And it's challenging, but the only thing that is going to get in my way, it's not my income, it's not how many clients I work with, it's not any of those, it's me. Because the minute I stop believing that I can make a difference, the minute I stop believing that what I have been through, what I have studied, what I have learned, what I continue to grow with, if I don't think that that's beneficial to other people, and it's not even a matter of being like, oh, look at me, I know all of this, because I think that there's a misconception from some people that it's like, oh, look at her, she's always talking about what she can give. But those gives are gifts. I mean, they really are. I wish I had somebody that was gifting me in my early 40s, but I didn't. And
Yeah.
so what keeps me going is believing that I'm worthy enough, that
You
I
are.
matter,
You are.
right? And that my message 100% resonates with other people, other women, anybody that is seeking guidance, help, whatever it might be. I mean, I even just take a phone call with somebody just to take a phone call, because it's like, I want to get to know you. Where are you in your life? What's happening? What might you need help with? Maybe it's not me. Maybe we just need to be friends. I come to everybody that I meet with the idea of, where are you? And and where do you want to be? And regardless of who I am and what I do, I want to be a part of your life. I mean, it's just, whether I run my business into the ground with that mentality, it really doesn't matter to me, because the ultimate goal, which is what I decided when I was in my early 20s, is to be of impact to other people.
Yeah.
And that keeps me going,
Yeah.
period.
Wow. Powerful. Absolutely powerful. And your own mission statement. Um, and you've said it yourself, and these are your words, they're not my words. These are very much your words. Is to nurture, empower, and uncover greatness in humanity, right? And I know you align yourself, particularly with women in the 40s, similar to yourself, who might be stuck or challenged in terms of where they find themselves at the moment. And do you find that post-COVID times have changed? you know, for women, is more expected, is less expected. You know, where's the dynamic currently in terms of that relationship? And I know women will struggle, mums will struggle, you know, to balance the responsibilities of work-based living and home-based living, and where you have that coming together in a hybrid form or in a flexible form. You may have some women working from home trying to look after children at the same time. So what are the challenges that you seeing at the moment, Christine? What are the big challenges out there for women at the minute?
I'll tell you, last year to me was very different than this year. Last
Mm,
year, women were saying, I want to, yes, I'm in this, like I want to do something. I realize I want to make changes. And then, kind of like I said earlier in the show, is I think people are stuck. I think that they're expected to be where they were before COVID, which, if you think about it, the expectations that are being put on women, men, whoever they are,
mm,
to go back to where they are is like asking an 18-year-old to go back to being 10. I mean, it just isn't in our chemical makeup to go backwards like that. So for women, I think so many women are kind of like, I'm not sure what I do, what I want, but I know I have to do these things. I have to be a mother to my kids. I have to show up for work. I have to pay these bills. I think that women's priorities have become very confusing,
mm.
and they want the best for themselves, but they're worried about money, right? And women, we're just not raised to prioritize ourselves um, over everything else in life.
Yeah.
So for women to reach out, for a woman to reach out to me and say, I want to talk, I think I want coaching, I'm not sure. I applaud her so much, because just that step in itself is an indication to them, whether they coach with me or not, is that they want more for themselves. They have seen a vision of themselves that they could be more, and they want to know how to get there. And it takes a strong decision to get there. But I think that we're just in a really weird time this year. I think there's that grief that's holding people back. And by not recognizing that grief in whatever form it is showing up in women, that they're just a little bit stuck. Um, that's what I'm seeing, and it's breaking my heart. So I'm really trying to support as much as possible, whether it be through my writings or posts or phone calls, and just to say, hey, you're not alone. You really are not alone. Um, and there are ways out, whether you want to take it now or in the future, but you're not stuck.
Yeah. Is there a book in there, Christine?
Is there, who knows? I mean, I've written several articles. In fact, I just wrote an article about grief and loss. The story is in particular about Maya Ray. It's on medium.com. But who knows, right? I mean, that's the beauty about life and evolving.
Yeah.
It's, hey, I want to tell this story, and that's where we are. I mean,
I feel that
everybody has,
I feel there's a book there, Christine. I do
oh,
feel
you
there's a
do?
book. I do, yeah. I
Okay.
feel you've got a very powerful message to deliver to the world, which is one of the reasons why I wanted you on my podcast. I think your message is authentic. I think it's honest. I think it's true. I think you know, women particularly need to hear it. That there is another way, and that you walk the walk and talk the talk, because you've done it essentially, Christine. You've transmuted your pain, you've transmuted your struggle, you've transmuted your difficulties into something glorious and wonderful, which is a business and an organization now that helps and supports others in order to make that lasting impact, which is wonderful to see. And I'm honored. I'm honored to be part of that this afternoon, and helping you to spread your message even wider and further afield into this wonderful global community we call this rock we call planet Earth. Really, to be honest,
That's right.
which is good. And I think one of the key things for me is that I recognize quite clearly now that one of the key big changes for me is that my as it were, my geography has changed significantly over the past 12 to 18 months. Now, I'm speaking to people on like yourself, who are at the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, right? Who are in a different state, who are in a different time zone, who are
Totally
thousands,
different country.
totally different country, totally different, territory. And I'm able to do that for two reasons. One, we have the technology available. And I know in terms of your own continued story, you've recently developed a wonderful podcast with your co-host called We Built a Bridge. Tell us a little bit about We Built a Bridge.
Yeah, so we started that last November. We're on a bit of a pause. We're trying to decide about moving forward with that. But, Colleen and I had agreed on the whole communication situation that was going on. My focus was coming in terms of human beings communicating with one another, and her focus was on the workplace. And so we were bringing two different perspectives about well-being, work culture, and essentially living your best life. And I kind of hate to say that because to me it's so general. It's like, well, what does living my best life mean? But it means waking up every day and feeling that you matter, knowing that you matter, realizing that every person that you talk to, you are touching that day. I mean, we have that ability to touch everybody and make, create an impact on their lives. And so that's what that show was about. And we recorded 18 episodes, and it's such an amazing opportunity. I mean, if you had asked me 3 years ago if I was going to record 18 episodes and offer them live and then record them, and I would have said no way. Like that, no, I'm an introvert. That is not going to be me. Nobody cares what I have to say. And it was amazing. And it just goes to show you that everything that we do in life takes us towards something else, or it teaches us something else about ourselves if we choose to accept it, right? If we choose to accept it.
Okay. Finally, Christine, in order to wrap this episode, if I'm going to give you a scenario right? A scenario. If somebody's listened to this podcast today that has listened to your words and say, okay, what's next? How do I move forward? What advice or guidance would you give them in to enable them to begin to take the steps that they need to move forward positively with their life, if indeed that they feel stuck?
It's, so much is about self-love and self-awareness. And that's what we all have to get to in order to take steps forward to recognize where that pain is coming from. Being stuck is rooted in pain that has become grief, because grief essentially are unresolved issues. And we don't realize, we just think it's stress, or we think something's happening today, but it's all rooted from something that happened when we were younger, or maybe 10 years ago, or whatever it might be. And we are grieving something that we never got over. And the best way to, I can't even say tackle it, because it's a process, right? I mean, we are human beings. We are onions deep in layers of who we are. And so to stop and accept who you are, it's like, you know what? I feel like damaged goods, right? Like I feel a lot of pain. I'm having a hard time moving forward, but this is where I am right now. That is self-love, and that is acceptance. And then it also invites the self-awareness to say, okay, well, I'm damaged. I feel damaged and I feel like I'm stuck, but I don't want to be here anymore. That's the awareness. And then it's, well, I need help, right? So we can't just go and tackle a problem when we haven't accepted how it's affected us in our life. We can't do it until we say, this keeps coming up for me and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And then there comes that choice. Okay, well, do I want to continue on that doesn't feel good route? Or do I want to try to take a step in a new direction? So honoring yourself, women, you're feeling stuck, honor who you are, honor that pain. It's okay. We're all in pain. We are all in pain. But then stop and ask yourself, do I want to continue on this painful route, or do I want more? And that is the next step to really finding an escape to what has held them back.
Magic. Thank you, Christine. And if you're listening to this afternoon, and if you want help, and if you want support, and if you want guidance, and want advice, www.christinepasso.com is the place to go. Reach out to Christine either on this platform, reach out to Christine on LinkedIn, reach out directly through her website, and you've got a beautiful website that's very simple, and that gives you clear steps in order to take those steps that you need to take in order to purposefully and with vision have the life that you want if you do feel stuck. Christine, it's been a real pleasure today to have you on my podcast. Honestly, it's I feel really honored and humbled and grateful to have had this time with you, because I know you are a busy individual, and I know running your own business is a busy time, but I appreciate the time you've taken out today. Can I also say Maya is in my heart and her spirit is in my heart. I know that I think about her daily, and she walks with me, as you do. And I extend my support and my sympathy to you and to your family and to your loved ones on your loss, because I know, it's only been 2 months, but it's still very much early doors, and if you need help, and if you need support, and if you need a listening ear, now that you've seen me in the flesh and
Yes.
seen my face, and we've had that conversation, please reach out. Where if you have those difficult days, and you will, rest assured that I'm here, and we're here, and there's a community that supports you and looks out for you. Okay.
No, you're so wonderful. And I don't know about you, Seamus, but I kind of feel we are virtual here, but I feel a little bit like when I look into your eyes and we're having conversations, I mean, I see such a deep connection and I almost feel like, it's like I have this little flutter. I almost feel like we're in the same room. And that is the kind of communication and connection and care that I talk about. And I have goosebumps because I'm just so honored to have you in my life and to have spent this time with you and to share this with other people. And thank you so much for being you. I mean, I'm going to end with that. Thank you for being you.
Thank you, Christine. And this is me, Seamus Corry, signing off, episode 6, Wellbeing with Seamus, with the wonderful Christine Passo this afternoon. Christine, I wish you a wonderful and very happy, pleasant day today and weekend when it comes.